Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aquarian Wisdom Festival. I am your host and the creator of this event. My name is Jocelyn Mercado, and here in the Aquarian Wisdom Festival, you are invited to gather with speakers, teachers, thought leaders, musicians, and artists who will illuminate our hearts and minds with paradigm-shifting perspectives from many diverse and multidimensional fields. All the topics included in this festival are specifically selected to guide you to live a passionate, fully awakened life. Together in sacred space here, we will hold workshops, lead experiential practices, and guide you into alternate realms, opening portals to other realities so that together we can optimally navigate this momentous paradigm shift, powerfully choose the reality that we're collectively creating, and build a bright and vibrant future for our planet and all beings. So today I am thrilled to welcome Amanda Coleman. Welcome, Amanda. Thank you so much for being a part of this event.
Hi, Jocelyn. Such an honor to be here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for being a part of this. So Amanda Coleman is a licensed clinical psychologist trained in Jungian and solution-focused therapy with an orientation towards earth-based wisdom. She holds a master's degree in early childhood education, and after teaching in the classroom for years, realized she could have a greater influence on people through working with the internal states, and went back to school to obtain a doctorate in clinical psychology. Amanda is also a certified spiritual life coach and ritualist, and has studied and practiced classical yoga, meditation, and breath work in the Kashmir Shaivite lineage, and has worked with a Lakota wisdom keeper for over a decade. It is her sacred work to facilitate healing with women in community in connection to the earth. Aligned with this mission, Amanda created Artemis Ranch, a sacred gathering space where a deeper connection to the wisdom inherent in the cycles of nature is possible. Having built an authentic teepee on this property, she facilitates monthly public moon and solstice teepee ceremonies and smaller group deep dive series. So, Amanda, your work is so beautiful, and I'm excited about your topic today, which is a call to inaction, earth-based wisdom, and the power of pause. So, to begin this conversation here today, can you share with us what direction do you see us needing to go as we move forward?
Mm, yes, first of all, thank you so much for that introduction. That was beautiful. And quick check-in. Can y'all hear? There's a little noise that started right when we started. Is
I
it
can't hear
bothering?
it. Yeah, Zoom is really good at drowning out background noise, so
Oh,
I'll let
great.
you know if it becomes anything. Yeah.
Okay. So, what a fabulous question. What direction do we go in from here? I feel like we are at such a crucial moment in history, um, as we're starting to come out of the pandemic. There seems to be a collective conversation about, you know what, I'm going to go inside because this noise, which is something I'm going to talk directly about as I answer this question, is a little bit bothering me. 1 second. Can you see the teepee in the background?
Oh yeah, let's see the TP real quick. That would be amazing.
Can you see her?
Yes, there we go. It just focused. Oh, amazing. And the mountains nearby. Yes.
This is Artemis
So
Ranch.
beautiful.
So, Jocelyn, the momentum of the outer world starts to pick back up, as evidenced by that noise, I feel like there is a collective conversation about a return to normalcy. And I really feel strongly that to return to the way we were before is not collectively in our best interest. And while the experience we all just went through over the last 13 months or so has been at times really trying for the humans, it has been this miraculous break for the natural world. And some of what we learned in the last 12 or 13 months is that when the frenzy of the human activity slows down, the earth herself has the capacity to completely regenerate herself. And we see this in so many areas, from endangered sea turtles in Florida laying more babies than they have in decades, and endangered gorillas in Uganda also having more babies than they've had in decades, and the humpback whales in Alaska. So this is really touching for me when I learned this. Humpback whales, especially the moms who are feeding their babies, need to feed the babies often, and they hunt the best with other adult whales. And it's this beautiful, actually, feeding ritual that they do with the fish, and they get the water going in a fast circle, a bunch of adult whales, and the fish kind of get engulfed, and it's just this beautiful ritual. And for years, the moms have not left their babies, because when the moms leave their babies, they can't hear the babies cry. They can't hear if the baby's getting attacked or in distress. So the adult female moms have stayed close to their babies, which has harmed or slowed down their capacity to get food, to nurse their babies. And a lot of the babies haven't survived. And in this past year, we saw, because the noise in the ocean slowed way down without the tourist boats, the adult mother whales could leave their babies for the first time and go hunt effectively with other adult whales.
Wow.
I know, isn't that so dear?
It's so moving. Yes, I had no idea about that. Amazing.
And there's another equally as moving experience of the moms and the babies, which is in Kenya, the cheetah, which is endangered. There's only 7,000 cheetah left in Africa. And when the mom cheetah goes to hunt, she leaves her cubs behind because they can't run as fast and they're not as effective hunters. She goes and hunts by herself. And when she kills her prey, she can't leave the prey, because then other animals will come steal it. You know, there's all these other animals that will come steal it. And if she calls too loudly for her cubs, then she'll attract lions and other animals of prey to also come take the kill. And what has happened in Kenya is that when the mom cheetah gets the prey, there is so much noise with safari tourists wanting to circle around the mom who got the prey. And it's one of the number one things, I guess, that the tourists in Kenya want to see is a cheetah, which is the fastest mammal on the planet, make a kill. So when that happens, they're radioing each other and cars are coming and they're circling the mom, and she can't call to her young to come and eat because there's too much noise. And this has resulted in only 1 in 3 cubs survive, cheetah cubs. And this past year, during 2020, when we were all in shelter in place and lockdown and more quiet, the mom cheetahs, there's footage of this that's just so beautiful, give these little yelps to her cubs who hear, and because there's not the noise and the frenzy of the humans, they come running and can eat. And so many more have survived. The stories about the natural world, Jocelyn, are just endless. The seahorses off the coast of Ireland are making a comeback because their habitat that was getting destroyed by boats and tourists is regrowing. And I mean, it's just the penguins in South Africa. This is another feeding and mommy and baby thing. The parents leave the baby penguins on the beach while they go get food, and they feed them twice a day. And when they come back, because there's so many people on the beach, they can't find their babies to give them the food. So this year, without people on the beach, the penguin population, I think, tripled in South Africa.
Wow.
I know, and there's so many more. It just goes on and on what we observed in the natural world when the human frenzy quieted. Another thing that has been miraculous is the air quality. The air in Los Angeles, 12 days into the pandemic, was the best measured air quality in 40 years in Los Angeles. I know. And the waters around Morocco completely cleaned themselves up. It went from terrible to excellent water quality over the course, I think that was the first 6 months of the pandemic. And then over 12 months of the pandemic, the global carbon emissions dropped 6%, which is the largest drop in recorded history. So, and even, this is fascinating to me, even underneath the Earth's surface, it was quieter also than it's been in recorded history. So the Earth at her core quieted.
That is
And
really fascinating.
isn't it fascinating?
All the levels. Yeah.
All the levels. And one of the things that really stood out to me is that we are spending, those of us who are in the, the climate conversation and the wanting to take care of the earth, the environment, are spending so much money. I mean, billions of dollars coming up with ideas about what do we do to help the earth? What do we do to save our natural resources? And what strikes me is the human doingness. And then here we come with our climate conversation about what do we do more to add to this, to like take plastics out of the oceans, for example, which is an amazing thing to be doing. Let's clean up the oceans by taking plastics out. What we just saw in the pandemic is that left alone, the waters clean themselves. The air cleans itself up. The animals that are endangered start having twice as many babies, and the ones that were having babies, they're surviving at just amazing rates. So my deep heart and my, I guess, call to inaction, as we said in the beginning, is as we start to move back into more momentum, as the outer world picks back up, as we start to do more, how do we maintain some sense of what we just learned about the natural world as we go forward? How do we maintain some stillness? How do we maintain some quiet? How do we maintain a deep reverence for the intelligence of the natural world? And I have lots of ideas about about how we do this. And the message I feel so strongly about is that we do it, that we also include in the conversation going forward. As we do less than we were doing, the natural world has the capacity to regenerate herself in completely miraculous, incredible ways.
Wow. Yes. 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 It's so powerful to hear these examples of the very rapid shifts that have occurred. And it seems kind of crazy to say this in one way, but like what a miracle
Well, it
that
is a
through the
miracle.
pandemic, right, which of course has brought much suffering, right? But what a miracle that we had this chance to witness the healing of the earth through our, extended time frames of inactivity. And it's like, I do, and I know you do, and I want to get into that. I operate in these realms of like opening up to receive the wisdom and the instructions from the higher intelligence before I know how to move forward, right? Before I know what decision to make. And it's like this call in the way that you've shared it here. It's so crystal clear. It's so obvious.
It's so obvious.
The shift that occurs, and just the beauty and also miraculousness of the earth's ability to heal, and recognizing her as a being,
Mhm.
right, with a body just like us, and her
Intelligence.
ability to self-heal. So powerful to think about that. So
There's also conversation about, even if we all stopped driving cars and all went electric and did solar, wind, and that it's too late, that we've actually done so much damage to the earth, and there's so many of us that um, we're beyond repair. And what we just learned is that's absolutely not true.
yeah, that we don't know that at all.
We don't know that at all.
We
In
don't know how
fact,
to calculate the rate that the earth will heal, and in fact, yeah.
we just got a ton of information about how quickly and efficiently she repairs herself, her waters and the air, and
Yeah.
completely rejuvenates when we give her the space to.
Yeah. Yes. So powerful to really let that sink in. To really deeply let that sink in. Well, you have this beautiful, profound connection with the earth,
Mm,
that has been guiding you for
mm.
quite some time. So, can you share with us about that? What is your connection with the earth?
Yeah, what a lovely question. Um, so I feel like, we talk about different medicine, hawk medicine and owl medicine and deer medicine, and it has brought me to really think about what is our human medicine. Like, if we're here as part of this divine play, we must have a potent medicine as well. And one of the things I keep coming back to and kind of being astounded by is that I believe and witness that our potent medicine as humans is our consciousness. Obviously, that's a potent thing to behold. And when we put our conscious attention on appreciating the natural world, when we turn to the natural world with reverie, with honor, with openness, with a willing to learn from how Earth does life itself, how Earth sustains life, when we open ourselves up to that, a couple of things happen. One, we receive profound guidance and teachings. I mean, it's so clear when you look at a tree and it's going crooked to get more sun, just when an obstacle comes, what to do. It's also so clear the rhythm of the earth, the timing, the frequency. She has what is it? I think it's like 7.83 hertz. The frequency of the earth is a very healing frequency. It's also very slow. She's not rushing. She's not trying to get to the finish line. So my life has been very much an orientation of reverence towards the natural world and how she operates. And then back to our human medicine, when we appreciate her, she responds, which is phenomenal to experience. But it's just like anything. It's like when I tell you your smile lights up the whole room, Jocelyn, it feels good to be seen and to be acknowledged. And when I give animals attention in a loving way, they get happy, they light up. Same with the earth. When we put our consciousness on her beauty and splendor, when we recognize it, when we allow ourselves to vibrate with her frequency, she responds. So I feel like I'm in a deep conversation with the earth and the natural world. And one of the things that I want to say today with that in mind is that, so during the pandemic, when we were told to stay in our houses and we couldn't hug each other and dance and gather. And there was a lot of acknowledgement about isolation and disconnection and how horrible that feels and how it's not good for our health and our psyche and all the rest. And while I'm not at all proposing we stay in lockdown at all, I do want to offer that when we slow down enough and become receptive to the conversation with the natural world, we get filled up with a sense of being connected so profoundly to all of life, to life itself even. And there's also this conversation about belonging. We all want to belong. We all want to belong. And feeling like we belong to the earth is a profound sense of belonging and a profound sense of connection. So as we move forward, and I'm proposing we include some stillness and some solitude even and some silence, that we bring that with us as we come out of this. It's not at all from a place of deprivation, like we have to not see each other and deprive ourselves of hugs and connection in order to have reverence for the natural world. It's not that at all. It's as we quiet down and invite silence and invite a direct conversation with her, the experience of being connected and fulfilled is so immense that there's nothing about it that feels like deprivation or our freedom being taken or any of that. It is to have a connectedness day in and day out, even moment to moment with the natural world, with the changing of the light, with the sound of the bird's song, with letting your body relax enough to feel held by the frequency of the earth. It is immensely healing, pleasurable, connected, fulfilling. So what I'm proposing is not at all from a place of we have to deprive ourselves in order to honor her.
Yes. Yes. And there's what you're speaking of is bringing intentionality to all of this. So rather than approaching it as, oh, I have had solitude forced upon me, actually choosing to be in solitude and maybe sit on the earth or connect with the sunset or whatever that might be, actually choosing that.
Choosing that and relishing in it, letting it fill you and heal you and move you. And yeah.
Yeah, it's a very powerful, it's an important shift in our perspective around what's really happening here.
And I love you saying that shift in our perspective, because I feel like that's exactly the crux of it. It's a orientation, it's a worldview, it's a perspective that the earth is divinely intelligent. And it is, I mean, gravity and oxygen and the rainforests, the way she operates to sustain life on this planet is just mind-blowing. And somewhere along the way, we got the idea that human intelligence is the top of the rung. And it's a different orientation to have humility and reverence towards the natural world as our teacher, even. I love storms. I love thunderstorms and snowstorms because it brings that obvious, I don't know if it's hierarchy, but it brings a humility to nature. I mean, nature, the force of nature, it becomes so obvious that we are humbled by her majesty, by her force.
Of course, yes.
And same with her intelligence. It is so nuanced and precise.
the way that Earth operates. It's just spectacular. It's beyond what we can almost fathom.
There's an incredible book by Stephen Buhner. It's called Plant Intelligence and the Imaginal Realm into the Dreaming of Earth. And it's about some of these things like the incredible precision of the elements that are held in balance in the Earth's atmosphere that make life possible, right?
Right.
Nowhere else in the entire universe that we know of is oxygen held at this exact 5.6% of the total gases. Normally, oxygen just binds with whatever it's near, and there's not normally oxygen floating around. But here, it's held at this exact perfect ratio to support all of the plant and animal life. Like,
and a little bit more and a little bit less, we wouldn't be here.
And we wouldn't be here. Yes. It's incredible.
It's incredible.
And there's like a million more of that kind of thing going on all around us every day.
Awe-inspiring.
Yeah. Yes. Well, so what can we do to honor the earth, to really connect with her?
So there's a lot we can do that range from simple and easy things to more profound. And one of the things is this orientation that we're talking about, to even, so we hear about making offerings to the earth, tobacco offerings and flower offerings and fruit offerings, and it's such a lovely thing to do. It's a lovely practice, which I do often. And even offering our own heart, our own willingness to be in communion with her intelligence is already inviting this miraculous exchange to be possible. And it's already healing her to open ourselves up to connection, to learning. That's one thing we can do. Another really profound practice that's kind of almost humorous at this point because we've all just stayed home a lot. Before the pandemic, I would lead ceremony in the teepee a couple times a month, at least a couple times a month. And on ceremony days, I would not move my body faster than it could move on its own. So I wouldn't get in a car. I wouldn't get on a bicycle. I also didn't purchase anything, wouldn't spend any money. And on those days, I also fasted. And to slow our bodies down for 24 hours, sun cycle, without moving them faster than they can move on our own is a profound reset for our nervous system. And to get into a receptive state where we're not consuming, we're not buying anything. I didn't actually even consume food, kind of emptied out and got into a very listening state of being mode.
And not consuming information as well.
Not consuming information as well.
That's huge, right?
Huge. Yeah, no Googling and no getting on emails and just emptying out to be receptive, which I want to talk a little bit more about in a minute. So to have a practice where you don't speed your body up faster than it can go on its own, even one day a month is a great way to connect to the earth and everything I'm talking about, and a great way to bring forward into the busyness of life some of what we just gleaned in the last year. It's also always important and grounding to be on the earth without our shoes, to sit on the earth, to walk on the earth barefoot. It really invites that frequency I keep talking about into our being. Another thing that is not so much a practice as much as just start to pay attention to the lighting during the day and what time the sun sets and when twilight is and what season are we in and what are the fruits and vegetables that are in season naturally. What is the earth growing natively at this time? What's the moon? What's the phase of the moon? To just tune in to those cycles of nature invites a deep connectedness that's kind of out of the matrix of the frenzy of the people world. Yeah, just even knowing what phase the moon is in, when it's full, when it's new.
Definitely.
There's a reorientation.
And knowing where it will be in the sky, right, along with that.
Exactly. You do that. You know where the moon is?
Oh, definitely, yes. Phase, the moon, and the astrology of it too. But that's a whole other level. But yes, all of those things. And by the seasons, knowing where the sun will be, right? Because in the winter,
right, exactly,
the sun is much further to the, which way? Further to the south.
In the winter, it sets further south. Yeah.
And in the peak of the summer solstice. This is for the northern hemisphere, okay? But
exactly.
But the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere is going to be much more further to the north as it tracks across the sky.
Yeah. So another thing, Jocelyn, that I just feel like is relevant is so we have an opportunity right now. I feel like if we could, the ship of our humanity, our millions of humans, just came to a pause, a collective pause. And we have an opportunity to turn the front of the ship into a little bit of a different trajectory as it starts going again. And anybody who knows about ships, when you're trying to turn a ship as it's going, it's a big thing to turn it. If you come to a pause and turn it, you can just turn it a little bit, and the trajectory it goes is quite different from the track it was on. So we are right now at the wheels are turning, the ship's starting to go. If we can turn it in this way a little bit, we're going to be in a lot better place down the road. And what occurs to me is that so many of the people who suffered during the pandemic, and even whose lives were lost, it's not in vain, especially if we can turn the course, the trajectory of where we're going. It's part of a revolution that could be profound and necessary and beautiful. I have chills. And all these people whose lives were sacrificed become part of this turning point.
Wow. I have chills too.
And it's not really new what I'm saying. It's not new, but it's poignant right now. We just got a ton of information with this collective experience we were hoisted into. And it doesn't even matter what your individual belief system is about the pandemic, who started it, why it got started, if it really was as bad as we think, if it was worse, what political party, what color we are. This is beyond that, any of that. It's we just, for whatever reason you want to believe, all stopped doing a lot of activity at the same time. And while it was hard for humans, what we saw from the earth and the natural world was profound evidence that I don't know how we could have gotten otherwise, that she has this innate capacity to regenerate herself in profound and quick ways. And let's support that. And let's support that in ways where we don't feel deprived. Knowing the phases of the moon and walking barefoot and having a practice of being intimate with your own breath and your own internal state as it connects to life itself is not deprivation. It's so meaningful.
And it's a different kind of connection, right? So you mentioned this at the beginning, that we, suffered from isolation because we couldn't hug each other, or we couldn't, visit our loved ones, or whatever that case might be. But this is bringing back some of that goodness that is not so harmful, but also creating this new, very, very deep connection with the earth and the elements and the seasons and the moon and the sun. And it's like, this is our natural state of being that we're returning to. This is our original state of being in this divine, like, intertwinement with all of the natural world around us that we're coming back into.
And ourselves, and like the deep place in ourself that connects to that, the deep place that recognizes source, that I do think also can get a little drowned out when we're externalized so much.
Absolutely.
So to connect deeply in that way with ourself is also a profound sense of connection.
Yes. So there's a correlation here too with the divine feminine, right? So how is all of this related to the divine feminine?
I love this question. So I also feel like there's a collective agreement that as we move forward as a humanity and a globe, that we need to incorporate the feminine again more, and follow and listen and honor, lead. And, you know, at its essence, what the feminine is receptive. I mean, even in our beings, as we mate, we're a receptive vehicle. So what I'm talking about, getting still and inviting in connection with the earth and having humility and reverence for the intelligence of the natural world, is a state of being receptive. It's a deep listening. It's a deep inward attunement. And so as we recognize we need more feminine leadership, what is that? And it includes for sure a deep receptivity. And I hope we agree that to receive instructions from the earth, to receive the wisdom from the earth, to receive the intelligence of the natural world, we move forward with those instructions. And, you know, it's sometimes a subtleness. We sometimes have to get quiet and receptive to hear the subtle instructions and the subtle teachings. And then, of course, the next part of that is have the courage to do the instructions, to carry them out. But the receptive part is very feminine, divine feminine, and it's crucial in order to connect with the natural world. Unless you're in a huge storm and then it's obviously beating you over the head. But often it's a subtle vibration and a subtle communication that requires stillness and a cultivated sensitivity, receptivity.
Yes. And I think, well, I know for sure that the more time we spend cultivating that, the more stillness and quietness we will long for, because then we feel the power of what can be received from that space, and just the power of being quiet and being still. I know my soul, I deeply, deeply long for solitude. And there's so much going around with work and kids and responsibilities. And when I get those moments of solitude and silence, it's so sacred.
So sacred.
It's so beautiful.
And I feel like in those moments of solitude and silence, even silence, we talk a lot about meditation just as a culture. And even just having moments in your day of intentional silence. I'm going to be silent for the next 20 minutes. Is a doorway to the sensory world that the earth energy can come fill. It's a doorway to commune with the natural world. So yeah, silence and solitude is so sacred and so relevant. And I would challenge, I guess, or invite so many people we recognize had such a hard time with not being able to do out there all the things we're used to doing. And the question arises for me, what if the connection inwardly, if the invitation when the external world isn't as available is to connect deeper inwardly? What's that world like? What's happening in there? What's when you follow that, where does it take you? Because I also noticed, I think a lot of people had a hard time going to that place, being quiet and still and in solitude and less busy. And
Yeah.
it's so rich and divine and sacred and important
Yeah.
to
And I
call.
think in that, if we haven't been in that place, there might be some things there we don't want to look at, right?
Yeah,
And that's
right.
why we can feel pretty, it can feel a little scary to actually get silent, because then we're going to have our inner self speak to us about maybe some things we need to change or see differently. And
Totally.
that's a necessary part of the process. And great healing, tremendous healing can come through.
And I would,
breakthrough.
yes,
Yeah.
huge, profound. And I would even add on that. So a lot of work I do in my life is with women and nature and reconnecting to breath and our bodies. And even as we connect inward, so too do we come up with really feeling our own body, sensing the sensations and what is pain and what is loneliness and what is antsiness to go out. Like, what does it feel like and where does it live and where is it blocked? And I would go as far as to say, it's really challenging to connect deeply. Well, I might say the pecking order goes, we connect with ourselves first. And when we're not deeply connecting with ourselves, it's really hard to deeply connect with another human. And likewise, it's really hard to connect with the earth. I mean, our body is made up of the same elements as the earth. So to connect inwardly with our vehicle is also a doorway to connect more deeply with the earth. So it's necessary. It's necessary to cultivate a relationship with your inward self, your innermost being.
Yes. Yes. And find out what's really in there and all the wisdom that can.
All the wisdom, all the magic.
All the magic. Yes.
And there might be some grieving and there might be some pain and there might be some angst, and that's okay. I mean, then you befriend it, then you have intimacy with yourself and can have intimacy with life and the world.
Yeah. Yes. Well, this is extremely profound what you're sharing here, and I'm sure it's certainly giving me a lot to think about or feel into from a heart sense, right? And I'm sure those listening are feeling the same. So thank you for bringing this message. It's a courageous message. It's not the
obvious one
that we're hearing from, from most quarters at this point. So
right.
thank you for having the courage to bring it forward and really state it in this incredibly beautiful way that you have. Do you have?
I love what you said from the heart space, because that's a big part of it. It's in the heart that we connect to the earth, that we hear our instructions.
Yeah, it's not from the mind.
It's not from the mind.
Yeah, heart and womb, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, do you have any final thoughts or anything that you want to say here, just to send us off with, to sum it all up? Message.
I do have one more little practice that keeps coming to me that's so simple and it's so profound to start or continue to feel our heart and feel our womb or feel our bodies as we interact with the natural world, which is, I would invite you, instead of labeling, that's an oak tree, that's a bay tree, that's a blue jay, what does it feel like? What does it feel like to be near an oak tree without even saying oak tree? What is this vast being feel like? What does the hawk's flight feel like? And it's different medicine than the hummingbird's flight. But when we go to the label, oh, that's a red-tailed hawk, and we're going into the mind. So to just walk around and feel the earth without any label is a beautiful practice. And I would like to just end with the call to inaction. Please stand in silence, stand in stillness, stand in communion with the earth with me. It's so vital right now.
Wow. Yes, thank you so much. And so, Amanda, I know you have a wonderful free gift that you're sharing with the audience here, and it's a podcast recording that you've done recently. So would you want to say just a few words about that?
Sure. So I offer a practice where we breathe with the seasons. So our breath is actually synced with the cycle of the external season. And when we link up our breath with where we are in the seasons, it's a profound way to connect. And that practice I go through, I actually lead people through it in a podcast that's called Master the Pause. And we'll share the link, I guess, below.
Yes. So yeah, everybody, if you just scroll down right below this recording, you will see the link to go and get that podcast recording and listen to it and sink in deeply. That's amazing. I love that idea of practice to sync us in with the seasons.
And it's like the inhale, the top of the inhale when our breath is, that's the summer solstice, just to give a little, and then exhale more deeply and all of our air out. That's the winter solstice. Beautiful. So the cycles are linked with the cycles. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, everybody definitely go and claim that free gift. I'm sure that'll be very profound. And what a beautiful first step in deepening our connection with the earth and cycles. And Amanda, do you have any projects, programs going on right now that you would want to share with people or direct people to? And how can we access your work?
So I currently am not doing the ceremonies that I do, but I'm about to start back up. And I'm in Northern California, and you can find these ceremonies on my website. Should I give the website address?
And that'll be, you can say the website link here, and it will also be posted right below this recording as well.
So okay, so you can find the website there. It's artemisranch.com. Those are going to be starting back up. And I also work individually with people on the land. So if any of this is resonating, reach out. I did start doing Zoom during the pandemic. So if you're not in Northern California, that's an option. And that's what I'm up to for now.
Beautiful. Well, thank you again for all you've shared here. It's really moving. Yeah, I just feel like this is going to come into my consciousness in some really profound ways and into my dream space. So I'm very interested and looking forward to seeing how it will all move through, because it's a strong call to inaction for sure.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Thank you for resonating. I do too have a bunch of videos on this. I'm not sure how they're right now on my Facebook, but they're public. So if you're interested in looking at some videos, it's Amanda Coleman.
We can put a link to your Facebook as well.
So okay.
Check that out. Yeah. So that'll be right below the video too, everybody.
Okay, great. Jocelyn, thank you so much for the work you do in the world and who you are and how you are. It's really lovely to be here with you.
Thank you. Yes, such a pleasure to be here with you and have this conversation today. Such a powerful conversation. So yeah, thank you. Thank you, Amanda. Blessings.
Yeah. Blessings.